There we go. Every time I do one of these Facebook Live videos, then I just can't imagine that this was something I would ever do. And yeah, here I am. I don't even know what number video this is anymore, but but yeah, I am Matt Marie. I have lost 80 kilograms over almost 3 years, and I do these live videos basically just as a motivation, just to share my story with others in the hope that it will motivate and inspire others to also reach their goals. I am a very ordinary person. Yesterday I had such an embarrassing incident yesterday. I yeah, I went to do my hair or to cut my hair and to color my hair yesterday. Something which I don't do very often, but so I went to do that, and then while I was at the salon, some of my colleagues at work tried to get hold of me. So and we also and so just after I got out of the salon, I phoned back. And at the same time, I thought, well, I want to go and get some ice creams for my children. I've got 4 kids. And and so that mom guilt was already setting in, because I've already, spent 2 hours at the salon. Well, almost 2 hours at the salon. And I thought, well, I want to go get something nice for them. So I phoned my colleague, and I was talking on my phone and walking to the Pick and Pay, and I walked into the Pick and Pay while I was still on my phone. So then I walked back to the freezer section, and I got a box of ice cream, and I went to the checkout that says for 10 items or less, because I only have this box of ice cream that I want to buy. And there was these 2 guys with a trolley that was standing at this checkout for 10 items or less, which was already strange to me. All the while I'm still on my phone talking and trying to solve this problem at work. And I saw these 2 guys, and they would look like they were trying to get something out of the fridge that was there by the checkout. And I walked around them because the teller was open, and I walked around them, and I wanted to pay for this ice cream that I wanted to buy. And then this teller just glared at me, and then I realized, hang on, I just cut the line in front of these 2 guys that were actually waiting in line, and I didn't notice it. I thought they were busy with getting something out of the freezer there. So I stood back and I said, like, well, go, I gave them the space, and then these guys like, well, you're already there, you might as well go. I felt so bad. So I'm a very ordinary person, and I do embarrassing things like that. And I am a married mom of 4, and I work a normal desk job in the mornings, and in the afternoon I play mom's taxi across the northern parts of Johannesburg. And that's about as ordinary as I get. My issues with my weight started when I was still very young. I wasn't even in school yet when I was already overweight. And I basically spent my entire school career being overweight. My first diet was around when I was about 16 years old. I started my first diet, and that diet, oh yes, if you want to ask any questions, make any comments, or if you can hear or see me, just post a comment, then I'll be able to notice that. So I met the man that I was going to marry when I was 16 years old. I saw him for the first time at our school assembly, and they had to get up. All the new kids in the school had to stand up, and when I first laid eyes on him, I knew I was going to marry this man one day. So, but as part of the goals of trying to win over his heart, I started my first diet because I was quite overweight at that stage, which was basically a starvation diet. So I would cut about a half or eat about a quarter even of whatever it was that my mom prepared for us. So yeah, and I lost quite well with that. I mean, it's basically calories in should be less than calories out. So basic diet. And yeah, so I went on this diet and I lost quite well with it. But it wasn't sustainable, and eventually I just picked up all that weight again, especially when I started going to race. I picked up quite a lot of weight then. And then my next diet, I started with the goal of getting married. So, well, I didn't start the diet with the goal of getting married. I wanted to lose weight for my wedding in order to look at least presentable for my wedding. So yeah, so I started that diet, which was again basically a starvation diet, and I lost very well with it. And I also that stage I also started Pilates, which was the first time. So I've been doing Pilates actually for quite a few years now. So yeah, and I was a sexy bride for my wedding, and I I got to achieve that goal of mine. And then shortly after getting married, I started picking up weight again. And then when eventually when we decided we want to try for children, I had a miscarriage for my first for my first pregnancy. And after that miscarriage, I gained a lot of weight. I fell pregnant that same month after the miscarriage, and the most weight I ever gained of any of my pregnancies was with that first, full-term pregnancy. And after I gave birth to my first child, I decided that I want to try and lose that weight. And that's when I joined YLS for the first time. My son was about a bit more than a year old at that stage. And I joined YLS for the first time, and I lost quite well with YLS. I was really doing quite well. I lost about 40 kilograms, 35, 40 kilograms at that stage. And then I fell pregnant again. I fell pregnant with my second child, and I had quite a difficult birth with her. And I just didn't go back to my YLS group after her birth, and I regained all that weight with interest after her birth. So yeah, and then about 18 months later, I had my third child. And around that time, I'm not sure if it was after my second was born, or just before my third was born, or just after he was born, but then I was diagnosed with an abdominal hernia, which was something that my mom also struggled with. So at that stage, my doctor already told me that I'll need to lose weight in order to have a surgery. But I had a third baby, and I had a fourth baby, and I just kept gaining weight. And after the birth of my fourth child, we were convinced then that we didn't want to have any more children. And I decided I want to really focus on losing the weight that I need to in order to have the surgery that I need. And I tried a lot of things. I couldn't get myself at that stage to go back to YLS. I mean, I knew YLS work. I lost well with YLS before, but I just couldn't. My group leader at that stage, when I did YLS the first time, she invested a lot of her time and energy into my weight loss the first time around. And I just couldn't find it in myself to pick up the phone and call her and try to go back. It's sort of like saying, yes, you did all these things for me a few years ago, and I've messed it up so bad. I've regained all that weight with interest again. Yeah, I just couldn't do it. So I tried a whole bunch of different things. I mean, in between, in between my pregnancies, and even, you know, after being newlywed and all those times, I've always tried in between to lose weight. It's not that I ever got to a stage where I say, oh well, I'm happy being overweight and this is just the way it is. It was always a constant struggle. I would try something that worked particularly well at some stage was those papaya tablets. That it I don't know how they work, but they sort of make your tummy go or something. I don't know. And I've tried shakes. I've tried quite a few different types of shakes before, and I always felt that there is obese people, and I'm talking specifically about obese people, not generally overweight, because obesity for me is a specific type of struggle. So there's obese people, and then there are people who advertise all these wonderful diet products and things out there that always made me feel like there are people out there that have the answer that I want. They know what to do to lose weight, and they've got this secret. And the only way I can get that secret is by buying something new and trying out a new product. And I've now come to realize that that's nonsense. That's really, if there was a secret to losing weight, then obesity and being overweight wouldn't be such a bigger problem. But there isn't. And yeah, it is heartbreaking that so many people are struggling with their weight. So after trying a whole bunch of different things, and yeah, there was this one day that I was sitting at a swimming gala for my eldest son, and yes, that day I was really struggling with my hernias that day. There was this one here on the side that kept on popping out, and I had to keep on pushing it back in. And it was hot at the gala, and these galas are extremely busy as well. So I had to always be early there because I needed to find a space that would be suitable for two people, because that's just the amount of space that I took up. And I was wearing literally the last dress that still fitted me. And shopping when you're obese is a nightmare. Especially if I'm not good with doing needlework and things like. It's not like I make my own clothes, but I can do the bare minimum. So yeah, it's a struggle if you are overweight to find clothes. So that day it was hot. I was wearing this dress, and I was struggling with my hernias, and I had a friend next to me that suggested maybe she was starting a new diet, and she suggested maybe I should join her. And I just thought, you know what, I need to go back to weigh less. I need to phone my old group leader, my previous group leader, and ask her if I can come back. And then I found her still that afternoon after the gala, and then she told me she was still running a group, like literally a stone throw away from my house, at a time that I could attend. So I went back to a group that Tuesday afternoon, and then I learned that I had 80 kilograms to lose, which is, well, initially I wanted to lose 85 because I wanted to get to that middle of my goal weight range. But yeah, I learned that I had a whole bunch of weight that I needed to lose. And yeah, and I posted on my page also at one stage, if you hear that type of news, it's the one person asked me, how does it feel to hear that news? And it's like, it felt impossible. It felt completely impossible. And then she's like, but what does impossible feel like? And I'm like, well, impossible feels insurmountable. You just can't. And then she's like, but she still doesn't understand. What does it feel like? What does impossible feel like? And then eventually I said, impossible feels like going back home and eating. And that's basically what I did my entire life. As soon as life became too hard, then I would just eat. And yeah, but I didn't. Not that afternoon. I came back home and I told my husband that I had to lose so much weight. And yeah, my husband was just in it with me from the get-go, trying to support me as well as he can. Yeah, and so I did all those that have been on Wailes before will find this familiar, but yeah, Wailes basically means you've got to weigh all your portions. They try to teach you what is the correct portion sizes, and you've got to eat from certain food groups, a certain amount from certain food groups. So they're also trying to teach you how to balance your meals and how to eat the correct food for losing weight. So I followed that as strict as I can. If there's one thing I can do, it is that I'm disciplined. Whenever I follow something, I try to follow it as closely as possible and as disciplined as possible. I didn't exercise in the beginning. I was just too big. So I only started exercising later in that year. I joined in February, and then I only started exercising by that December. And just before I started exercising, my group leader then also asked me to do my first open group meeting, which is basically like a invitation. So normally the groups are closed, but for an open group, she makes the group open for the day, and then outsiders can come and listen and watch and see what's going on. So I did my first open meeting talk in the December of the year that I joined, which was great. It was the first time. I was so nervous. The first time, I'm still nervous talking in front of people, but so I did my first open group meeting then. And then, I got a fitness watch for Christmas that year. And I started using my fitness watch initially just walking. Initially I walked, and by that time I've already lost enough weight to be considered for the hernia operation that I needed. So in January, February of the next year, I went back to my doctor and she referred me to the specialist for my operation. The specialist wanted me to lose a little bit more weight, which I did. So, and then in April I had my hernia up. So in April the year after I joined, I had my hernia up, and at that stage I've already started experiencing the benefits of being slimmer. So I decided to continue with my journey, even though my initial goal was just to have the hernia operation. But I decided to continue, and I reached goal weight in December 2019. So I've already said I am at the top of my goal weight range. Now, Wailes is this thing where you've got basically a 10 kilogram window in which which is called your goal weight range. So I'm still at the top of it. Initially, I aim to be in the middle of it, and I still want to be in the middle of it one day. But I'm a bit not made up completely on that yet. I'm happy with the weight that I'm currently at, and I feel, even though I've stagnated at this weight, I've been exercising a lot, and I feel that it is a comfortable weight for me. I feel comfortable with this weight I'm currently at. So I'm still pondering that thing, whether I should aim to reach that middle of my goal weight range. But we'll see. So one of the biggest things that I realized when I reached my goal weight is that I'm suddenly finding myself on a new journey, because now I've lost the weight obviously I want to maintain it. And I had this huge fear of regaining those 80 kilograms. But I didn't know what to do to maintain this weight. So initially I went back that evening, and I weighed my food. I didn't weigh it, but I made the supper that I was set out to make for that evening. The next morning, I still do that every day. I still weigh my breakfast and my yogurt, my cereal and my yogurt each day. That is sort of my reminder of how far I've come. So that's the only thing I still weigh, is that little bit of cereal and that bit of yogurt. But I still weigh that every single day. So I did that, and I still followed my formula as closely as possible. Even though I've just reached goal weight, I continued doing this for a few months afterwards. I was basically still following my diet. And after a while I thought, yes, there must be more to goal weight life than this. At some stage I've got to start living again. Two of my goals for 2020 was to do more open meeting talks, just tell my story to more people, which is the story I'm telling today. Somehow that goal has changed, but anyway, and then to focus on my running. At that stage I've already become a keen runner, and then of course both of those goals got sort of ended when lockdown started, because suddenly I couldn't do my open meeting talks again. I was due to do an open meeting talk that Tuesday after the lockdown started, the hard lockdown last year. And of course I couldn't run anymore. I couldn't run or do my road running anymore. I don't have a treadmill. So for the running, I decided to start running in my garden, which was not nice. I lost 2 toenails in the process. Just from running in that tight circle the whole time. Then out of frustration, because I couldn't do my open meeting talks, I started doing this online videos. And the story I was telling was about my weight loss journey, and was around just before lockdown started. I enrolled myself and my husband for some courses that a therapist, like marriage enrichment courses. And so by that May of 2020, he wasn't my therapist at that stage then, but then he made a comment and said, well, he thinks I need to come for some therapy sessions. And that's where my therapy journey started. I never knew that I was emotionally starving until someone pointed it out to me. But the biggest. So we started an entire therapy journey, which tried to look at my emotional triggers, and we tried to address the addiction. And now today, as I sit here, after more than a year later, after the start of that therapy journey, I am convinced that most of the people that are really struggling with their weight are actually struggling with an addiction. And that in order to lose weight, you've got to look at that addiction. And in some ways I wish I figured it out sooner, because I think that would have saved me years of struggling with my weight. Because when you want to lose weight, you start a diet. That's almost what society expects of you. So you yeah, you search for something and you start dieting and you start exercising, and that's how you lose weight. And nobody tells us to look at your eating problems out of the point of view of it being an emotional problem or an addiction. Yeah, and it was only when I started doing that that things started falling into place for me. And I could finally figure out what was my problem the whole time. Any behavior has a root cause. Behavior doesn't just happen. Overeating is a behavior. Emotional eating is a behavior. Eating more than you know, dishing out more than you should. Eating the wrong food. Okay, that's probably an educational problem as well. I think to solve weight problems, that you've got to learn how to eat properly. That's important. But I also think you've got to look at what are the behaviors that causes you to gain weight. Is it your overeating? Are you just an emotional eater? Because it's not natural. If you start looking at babies, they don't eat more than they should just because they feel like it. It's a behavior that we learn over many years, and I think that's the way to solve our weight problems, is to look firstly at the educational one, learn how to eat properly, and then to look at the behavior and what are the root causes for that behavior. Sure. I can't believe I've done this entire video unprepared today. Just wanted to talk out of my heart and get this message across. And so I did those first 4 videos last year. I did just talking about the diet and my good discipline and everything. And then I started, after I was in my therapy journey for a bit, I started with my emotional eating video, and then trying to get more and more of that message across. And this has become my goal. It's just to make people aware of the emotional triggers and of looking at the behavior that causes them to overeat. And I just want people to open their eyes to the addiction and to the emotional problems, because I truly believe that somehow that is where the key lies in dealing with our weight. So let's see if there's any questions today. So otherwise I might do what I did last time and do a separate video for questions. Okay, I don't see any questions today. There's a lot of nice comments. Thank you. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Maybe I'll do more. I wanted initially to do this video as a celebration for my page's first birthday, and then I realized that my page's first birthday is only on the 14th of July, and I thought it was the 14th of June. But I'll do something else when we get to the 14th of July. So yeah, keep posting questions. I will answer them when I see them. I should see them. And yeah, keep well. I'll see you next time.